Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show, powered by BetUS. Oh, boy. That, ladies and gentlemen, was a Knicks win. And I don't just mean that was a win by the New York Knicks. I mean that was a Knicks win. In the style that we have come to know and love, a style that was honed and refined and sharpened by iron last season, a style that we weren't sure was still going to be here this season because of all the moves that this team made, and a style that we were reminded tonight against a team that has given them a lot of issues in a house of horrors historically for them, at least over the last bunch of years. Who am I kidding? For as long as I could remember. They came out and showed us who they were. And all the conversation is going to be about one man in particular, and we are going to get to him very shortly, I assure you. But let me tell you right now, as Andrew was reminding me in my excitement, I forgot to turn my lights on. But because now you can't see my beautiful face, so I gotta fix that. Let me tell you right now, that was about more than one player. It was about more than one player, and it was about more than like getting hot from deep, which they did. It was about more than coming up with a few stops, which they certainly did. It was about tapping into something that we really haven't seen a lot this season, and it was about tapping into something that I think, based on just the people that I kind of interact with, people who had very high hopes for this team, it was something that I think through 3 games, a lot of people were like, wait a minute. Did we sell our soul for this upgraded roster and for this upgrade in skill and for this upgrade in the potential of what we could be? And I think, I've obviously been preaching patience. I've obviously been trying to say as much as possible, give it time. How much time? 15 games, 20 games, 30 games, whatever, more than 3 games. And I think tonight's win does not mean that growth process is over. As we know, development in the NBA, whether you're talking about teams or whether you're talking about players, is not linear. And so they could very well come out on Friday night and they could look clunky, or they could be a little disjointed, or whatever the case may be. That said, I think what they found tonight, what they discovered, what they rediscovered, whatever it is, I think has to make you feel good as a Knicks fan. That yes, even with the changes, deep down inside, this is still the team that we fell in love with, certainly over the last several years, but really last year in particular. So I am going to toast to them. And that is before I get to the headliner of this episode, because yes, this was a team win, but this is not a win that this team would have gotten had it not been for one player in particular. And that player, of course, is Karl-Anthony Towns. I will start off by reading the stat line here. 44 points. Team high plus 15, by the way, in 39 minutes. Every starter in this game played at least 36 minutes. I love you so much, Tom Thibodeau. Never leave me. 17 for 25 from the field. Perfect from the free throw line, 6 for 6. And how about 4 or 5 from behind the arc? I believe so far in the young season, Towns, because I think he was shooting was he like 4 for 6 coming into tonight from 3? Or 3 for 6. It was something crazy, but obviously on low volume because he's only taking 2 threes a game. Whatever the numbers are now, they're really good. And the difference tonight was he was more willing. And not to be forgotten, 13 rebounds, couple assists, only 2 turnovers. I'll take that any day of the week. And, obviously the best part of his stat line is that 44 points. Those 3 offensive rebounds. I don't know if it's just my perception sitting here and the ones that he got stand out, but every one of them seemed massive in the moment. And there were some big ones there in the fourth quarter, and I'm not sure they win this game for all of the skill that he displayed tonight. I don't think the Knicks win tonight without the toughness that Karl-Anthony Towns displayed tonight. And I think, again, going back to the theme that I opened the show with of, well, what is this team? What is this team going to be? No matter how much skill Karl Towns shows when he's as he, works his way into this team and this franchise, there has to be that toughness there. Now, credit to Steph Bondy, wrote a great piece. I think it was towards the end of the summer, basically questioning this like strawman argument that like Karl-Anthony Towns isn't tough, like he's soft. Like, I don't think that's ever been earned, that he's like the soft part. I think he's always been pretty tough, but to see it play out and to see it play out in a win where they were really challenged. And like, look, I don't know what the Heat are going to be this year. Like the Heat, they may wind up being a middling team. They may wind up being something better than that. They always seem to save their best for against the Knicks. I know that they were a bear of an opponent tonight. So that was a quality win by any metric. And since we're talking about Towns, I might as well give my autograph signature moment of the game. It's between two. Actually, it might be between three. It has to be a Cat one. With all due respect to some of the big plays, and I'm going to get to the stretch in the middle of the fourth quarter, middle end of the fourth quarter, where Miami was really, really pouring it on, and the Knicks made some big shots there. I think I am going to give it to the Cat step back-ish. It was a kind of a step back three. Maybe not step back, but it was like he fired away without hesitation to give him 41 points to make it 111-99, because that put the nail in the coffin as far as I'm concerned. The offensive rebound and the animal one that came after that was like kind of like icing on the cake. But I think that three to give him 41, I think, and like, was it a great shot? I don't know that it was a great shot because it was kind of came a little early on the clock. But listen, man, if a guy's feeling it, a guy's feeling it. And he had the confidence. And I think all of us would much rather live in a world where Karl-Anthony Towns is shooting confidently. And the last thing I'll say on Towns, because there's a lot of other stuff to get to tonight. What I loved, with the possible exception of like that three, I didn't feel like much of anything was forced. I thought in the first half, especially, I thought Towns got all of his points. Like, it was, I'm not going to sit here and say it was like a quiet 24-point first half, but it was effortless. It was, I didn't feel like it was forced. It was all like, these were all quality shots. And then the couple of times that he did demand the ball and post it up, whoever it was, most of which came in the second half, you need to do that. You have to do that. And I think one of the challenges that I personally was kind of going back and forth with in my own head after the Cleveland game, because the Cleveland game, as DJ was pointing out on Twitter and as I wrote about in the newsletter today, was about so much matchup hunting. And there was a lot of, okay, I got the good matchup. Like now I'm going to take the shot. And your offense kind of bogs down that way. Yeah, absolutely. And you want to move the ball. And I thought we saw some great ball movement from the Knicks tonight, by and large. But there is a time and a place where you need your best players to say, give me the goddamn ball. And I'm going to go to work, especially when the game's on the line. And I thought this is the first time that we've seen Towns do that in a Knicks uniform. And it's like, listen, man, and I know who he was going up against. A guy who I'm pretty sure, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, was my preseason pick for Defensive Player of the Year to finally get an award that he probably could arguably gotten once or twice already in his career. That's Bam Adebayo.
It was your pick, and he stinks.
He does stink. No, Bam's awesome, but Towns is better.
No, he stinks.
And that's why I don't have a problem with those post-ups at all. And it should go without saying, and I feel like I've been hearing, this from some corners, here and there over the years about, Thibodeau's lack of creativity on the offense and the whole thing. it's just all one-on-one and it's all ISO and everything comes from that. Like you need those things to open up the other stuff, because without your best players doing all that stuff, without Jalen Brunson going to work, like the other stuff doesn't really get opened up. So I thought everything from Towns. I mean, it's a 4-star game, or I guess for my newsletter's purposes, it's a 3-star game. Not far behind though. And I almost feel bad that Towns had the game that he did, because no one is going to talk about the game that Josh Hart had. Josh Hart, again, like this is getting back to last season where it felt like I was sitting here on post games and I was going through, 3, 4, 5 players. They don't win the game without this guy. They don't win the game without this guy. Well, they sure as hell don't win the game without Josh Hart. Josh Hart, by the way, was a game time decision. Not even sure if he could go tonight. Played 42 minutes, grabbed 14 rebounds, dished 6 assists, and scored 10 points. Made 2 of 5 from 3. His energy it's his energy. His energy, Josh Hart's energy should have a trademark. He should go out and get a patent on it. He should copyright it. He should do something, because his energy is so uniquely his, to the point where in a league where, everybody's playing hard and everybody wants to win and all this stuff, nobody works harder than him. And that work, that effort, that energy manifests itself in just winning play after winning play. And how many did he make tonight? Like, what I love about all the focus as we spoke in the preseason or after the trade, I guess, is about how the Knicks offense would open up and about how Brunson is going to have all this room to work in the paint, and how skilled Towns is and the whole thing. And then Josh Hart, in the context of that conversation, was looked at as a detriment by some. Not all, but by some. And yet, what we're seeing is, not 100% of the time, it could always be better, but what we're seeing a lot of is Josh Hart is using that space and those openings as well as anyone to cut and get into the middle unfettered, because again, they're leaving him. You're going to leave me? Well, okay, maybe I'll shoot it. Again, 2 for 5 from deep tonight. Maybe I'll drive in and I'll find someone in the corner, or I'll find someone else cutting, or maybe I'll cut in myself and go for a nice hoop, which he did there in one of the big baskets of the fourth quarter. That's what happens when you combine a player with that energy with a player with that level of basketball IQ. And that's why he's the perfect player for this team in the role that he has. And I thought he was just such a great part of the victory tonight. Another guy who is not going to get much attention, I thought he was very good, was OG Anunoby. Again, kind of quiet if you look at the numbers. 11 points, 3 rebounds. Did have a couple of steals. I think you saw tonight, as I don't know that I'd say the Heat were matchup hunting as relentlessly as some teams are capable of. Like maybe we saw Boston on opening night, but I think they were definitely looking to, I noticed it a lot in the first half. Put Brunson in situations where he had to make decisions and make plays on defense, and put Karl Towns in situations similarly, especially when Thomas Bryant was out there. But, even so, to have an OG Anunoby out there and have the luxury of like, all right, you guard him and you just take him out of the game. And like for as good as other defenders are, like Josh Hart's a really nice defender. Mikal Bridges Bridges even on that level. OG in that sense is almost one of one, not against every player. There are players that can have their way with OG Anunoby, but it takes a certain combination of Randall, Randall's one, and I'm sure that'll be a fun matchup when we get it later in the season, because he has the size and the skill. But and small guards, right? Your Tyrese Maxey's of the world, that might not be the best matchup for Anunoby, but like if you have, whether it's a Jimmy Butler or a Terry Rozier, like that's where Anunoby could really come into play. And I think it's not a coincidence that for long stretches of this game, Rozier and Butler were not really heard from Miami, and I give a lot of that credit to OG Anunoby. As far as Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges, obviously not great shooting nights for either one. Brunson finished 6 for 18 one night after finishing 8 for 24. So he has shot 33% on the nose in 2 consecutive games. Bridges 6 for 16. The nice thing about Bridges is I think and Brunson, sorry, both of them. I think they both maybe found a little something with their 3-point shot there in the second half. And those threes were massive. I want to highlight, and I don't think I need to talk about anybody on the bench. I'm sure it'll come up organically as we do the super chats. We may need to have a word about Jericho Sims at some point. Although he had at least one nice play that I remembered in the second half. Some other plays that were maybe not as nice. I thought for Brunson and Bridges to be the ones when the Knicks were down by 13 points early in the third quarter, 70-57, for those 3 guys to single-handedly put them on the first 8 points of what wound up being, I think it topped off at an 11-0 run because it went from 70-57 to 70-68. The last one of those was an OG 3. That was big. But for those guys to get the comeback going was massive. And then when you look at what I think is really the key stretch of the game, which was right midway through the fourth quarter, and it was right after Jalen Brunson's turned ankle, which we hope he's all right. I'm sure he's going to pop up on the injury report on Friday. And I think the real crucial moment, and Brunson missed one of the free throws after he turned his ankle, so it was only a 5-point lead. Then Rozier makes on a nice Jimmy Butler assist, makes that 2-pointer. So it's a 1-possession game in Miami, and you still got 7 minutes and 21 seconds left, 94-91. At that point, Bridges is the one who makes the 3 to push it back to 97-91. I would argue that was the biggest shot of the game. And then from there, we had Josh Hart had a beautiful drive and dish to himself driving Karl-Anthony Towns. And then the other candidate for maybe the biggest shot of the game is that Jalen Brunson step back to make it 102-96 after the Heat had again cut it to a 3-point lead. And from there, and sorry, one more for Brunson, for Bridges. His defense in the corner after the Knicks were stumbling and bumbling, and it looked like the Heat were going to be able to get back in it. He made a fantastic defensive play to get the ball back and force a turnover. I think it was Butler had it in the corner. And then one more shout out to Brunson, his pass to a cutting Hart to make it 106-98. So both of those guys did not have their best games, but made the big plays when it counted. This is really like everybody in the starting lineup contributed in a positive way to get this win. And coming off of a game on Monday night when we were all sitting here and really questioning the chemistry and questioning how long it would take these guys to figure out a way to play together, like all that stuff, I'd say they came out tonight and they played pretty darn well, both collectively and individually, as they continue to try to find their happy place and strike that balance. That, again, it doesn't come overnight, but that's fine. We're a patient fan base, thankfully. So yeah, just a real great win, a real fun win. I know it's an early season win. I know it's still October. This was not a must-win game, but I think a lot of people were like starting to get a little antsy. And again, there's going to be more losses coming, probably some frustrating ones, but that's why you got to log these wins when you can, especially in the early season as they continue to try to figure this stuff out. So great stuff. On that note, why don't we go to our transitional segment before we get to the super chats, presented by our friends at BetUS, who present betting and sweating to us. If you are looking for a new book this basketball season, of course, BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, fast and easy deposits. There's a link in the description below this episode. 24/7 personalized service, live wagering on all major games, 10% back on your net losses, personal account manager. And of course, there is that code YouTube150. You get 150% bonus on your first deposit, as well as 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. Let us see what our betting and sweating wagers were tonight and how we did. I know Andrew works hard on these going into every game. What's up, Kevin? How are you, my friend?
Feeling great. Feeling absolutely great about that win.
As you should.
Went to Miami, aka MSG South.
Always good to go into Miami and do the thing.
Take care of business.
Yes, 100%.
Shouts out to their amazing statues.
Yes, one of one. All right. Our betting and sweating picks were. Oh, look at this. This is a hell of a graphic. So we had Karl-Anthony Towns with at least 11 rebounds. That's a cover. We have Mikal Bridges with at least 16 points. Covered it by 1. How you doing? And then finally, we had both teams to combine. Am I reading that right? For 197 points?
No, it's both teams to get 100 points each. And it hit 3-0 in betting and sweating.
Oh, 100 plus.
To each team to get 100 plus. Oh, wow. Andrew Claudio, take a bow. I hope you find it in real life. With our friends, obviously, BetUS. But great. Oh, look at that. He's got the sunglasses on. Dressed for the club.
Can we take the next 10 seconds and laugh at the Miami Heat, ladies and gentlemen? He won't do it, so I'll do it for you. Enjoy your Heat sculpture. Enjoy the end of Heat culture. Happy birthday, Giancarlo. Juan, please.
I was about to say, I almost spit out. I don't know if those are the words. I almost spit out my Juan, please, when I saw you. Thank you, Andrew, for that rendition.
Como mierda, Miami. Como mierda. You know what that means. I know that much. Enjoy your post game, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to BetUS. You're welcome for the 3-0 in betting and sweating. This is going to be a fun night, unless you're a Yankee fan, because holy shit, that looks scary. Okay, bye, everybody.